On today's episode, we cover the best budget defensive midfielder with the Destroyer Playstyle. Stay tuned. Hey guys, so today we cover the defensive midfield Destroyer style best budget player that I found. And the guy that we're going to talk about is actually a guy that's been on my radar for a fair amount of time. He came up when I was doing the center midfielder analysis, and if you watch my center midfield best budget Destroyer video, you'll recognize him from that video, as he was one of the top 3 budget center midfielders with the Destroyer playstyle that I found. So when I went back to do this analysis, he for some reason just seemed to outplay all the other guys. On the field, he's just so aggressive, and as a destroyer, that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody who's essentially giving you a free gegenpress, who's constantly trying to win the ball back for you, and who's fast enough to impact and disrupt play of much higher level players. And he seemed to do this better than anyone else at the defensive midfield position. So let's get into him. He's 70 overall rated. He's 22 years old, which means there'll be some growth there. He's left-footed. He can play central midfield, defensive midfield, and he can play left back as well. Now, this is actually a really interesting fact, but I found that left backs and right backs, for some reason, if they're a good left back or a right back that's very physical and has a lot of pace, they actually end up being really good at defensive midfield. And if you ever want to test this out, go and put Wan-Bissaka from Manchester United into a defensive midfield position, and I guarantee you it will show that he's crap on the stats, but when you use him in that position, he'll just destroy everyone in midfield. He's so fast and so aggressive and has great defensive and offensive capabilities, and he just does a really good job in midfield. And I think that's what this guy is. He has that really aggressive play style, no inspire skills, but just a really tenacious player. So as we get into his abilities, you'll see on the offensive side, there's really nothing there. He's not a guy that you want to do any sort of finesse work with, not a lot of close control skills, ball control skills, and he can't really finish. I think this hurt him a little when I was looking at him at the center midfield position, which is why he wasn't a single standout. But I think this makes a real difference because at the defensive midfield position, he can really do the things he's built for, which is, if you look a little lower, he's got 79 speed, 80 acceleration. We'll talk about why that's important. And then he's got 76 physical contact and 70 bounce. On the surface, you don't think this guy's a monster, but he really does impose his will. He's also got 76 stamina, which is a little lower than I would like, but for the most part, he lasts all game. And again, you're not going to use him a ton on the attacking front, although do remember, he is a destroyer, which means he lacks discipline. So he will sprint forward in some cases, and you just can't control it. So moving on to defensive stats, you'll see he's got 66 defensive awareness, not good at all, 70 ball winning, 75 aggression. Now here's where you're probably wondering, why the hell am I picking this guy? Because he's not great on offense, doesn't seem to be great on defense. This was the same thing I saw when I did the center midfield analysis, and I recommended him, and in that I told you the same thing I'm going to tell you right now, which is go use the guy. His stats are somewhat irrelevant to the way he plays on field. He's got a weak foot of 2, conditioning of 5, which is good. It means for the most part he's going to be at or above his skill level, and an injury resistance of 2, which means for the most part he's going to be healthy. Now again, he's 22, so we should see some growth, and he's 183 centimeters tall. This is actually really important because we talked about his speed and acceleration and his physical contact. Now him being a taller guy, you would think that he'd be slow. Because he's a pretty light guy, it's the opposite. He actually feels really fast in game. He's got those long strides, but he's light, and so somehow this comes off in the game as him feeling really rapid over short distances. And that's really important when it comes to closing somebody down. Now, as we go to his playing skills, here he's got some really good ones, I think. He's got double touch, which I don't care about. If you like skills, maybe you do, but you're not going to skill with this guy. He's got mid-range curler, which again, I hope you never have to use, because if you're using this guy to shoot from the defensive midfield position, it should be an open shot, and you should definitely use the curling component to make it more accurate. But the next skills are where it gets really interesting. He's got through passing, and you do feel this in game. It allows you to make an accurate through ball, and I use this a lot, and I see him being able to put in balls really that he shouldn't be able to put in a pretty accurate way. To add to that, he's got weighted pass, and weighted pass allows him to place the ball and place backspin on the ball so the pass lands perfectly where he's looking to put it. So through passing and weighted passing together are amazing skills to be paired together, because they mean that he can place balls that just cut through a defense. So if you're playing long ball situations, he's really, really good. But if you're playing short passing situations, he can shred a defense too by putting in really good through balls on the ground. He's also got interception, which I think is key for a defensive midfielder, because you're going to want to cut out as many balls as possible. And then he's also got fighting spirit, and this kind of goes back to what we talked about, his stamina being 76. The fighting spirit kind of makes that a little irrelevant, because he's not going to be sprinting forward a ton, and he's going to be localized in midfield and defense. It means that he's not burning his stamina up like crazy anyway. But with fighting spirit, you get a guy that will last all game, and it can make an impact all game as people try to come into your third of the field and attack. I guarantee this guy makes a difference on your team if you don't already have star players in the defensive midfield position. All right, as we move to team role, there's nothing there, so we'll move on. And then as we move into development sheet, you'll see there's a ton of room for this guy to grow. He's going to be 75 by the time he's 25. You can get some boost from this as well. So he could easily end up being 76, 77. And then you'll probably get a little growth after that as well. If you use some team rolls on this guy, you could probably get him up to around or potentially even over 80 overall rated, which is kind of scary for this guy, because if he was really good and he had the stats to back it up, I think he'd be really, really dangerous. All right, so as we look into gameplay, what you're going to see firstly is him kind of bursting into some of the offensive parts of the field, and he actually does end up scoring a goal, which is kind of crazy for me, because he's not a player that I in any way want to be up in the attacking third. The thing that really makes a difference about him, however, is he's all over the field. He's always in the play, he's always pushing against people, he's always causing issues, he's always muscling people, trying to steal the ball. And this is a guy that on paper has no business doing any of that stuff. And I found by doing these budget reviews that there's something else going on with some of these players where they might not have good stats, but when they get in game, the combination of their stats, their body type, their skills, and potentially something else just makes them move around the field when you're not controlling them in just really positive ways, and position themselves, in this case for a defensive player, in really helpful positions that at least can slow down an attack. Honestly, my only issue with this guy is that I wish there were two of them, because I'd like to play two defensive midfielders like this, and he's the only one that I could find. So as a single central defensive midfielder, I thought he was really good, and I think he'll definitely add something if you're looking for that position and you're looking for the Destroyer playstyle. I think this is a guy you must absolutely try. Lastly, the thing you'll see, hopefully, is what I was talking about. He's pretty rapid on the field, even though stats don't show it, and he's also pretty physical, again, even though the stats don't show it. So please, give this guy a try. Tell me what you think. If you find someone else out there that's really good as well, let me know. I'd love to hear about the players you guys are using. You've told me about a couple already that I think are awesome. So let me know what you think, and I'll be back soon with the rest of the defensive midfield budget series. Take it easy. Hey guys, I'm new to YouTube, so if you like the content, please give me a like. If you like the topics, please subscribe, and always leave a comment if you can. Thanks, guys.